Acting is, at its core, the art of pretending. But sometimes, an actor's performance transcends the screen, feeling less like performance and more like reality itself.
Talking to me?
This isn't just great acting. It's when the actor's no longer acting at all. It's when they become the character so completely that the lines between fiction and reality blur. Few actors have achieved this level of immersion. And in Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners, Hugh Jackman delivers one of the rawest, most gut-wrenching performances of his career. For many, Prisoners is a showcase of stellar acting across the board. Jake Gyllenhaal's restrained yet layered portrayal of Detective Loki, Paul Dano's unsettling ambiguity as Alex Jones, but it's Hugh Jackman's Keller Dover who elevates the film into something almost too real to watch.
That song. Where'd you hear those words?
Jackman doesn't just play a grieving father. He becomes one, embodying the rage, desperation, and utter helplessness that would accompany such an unimaginable loss. There are moments in this film where Jackman is so convincing, so viscerally engaged, that it feels as though he has forgotten he's acting.
And why did you look for my daughter? Don't follow me.
And that's what makes his performance so powerful. Denis Villeneuve, known for his meticulous direction and ability to extract deeply authentic performances from his actors, crafts Prisoners as a slow-burning, atmospheric thriller. From the opening moments, the film immerses us in a bleak, rain-soaked world where tragedy feels imminent. Unlike many kidnapping thrillers that establish a false sense of security before the crime occurs, Prisoners begins with an eerie, symbolic sequence: a father and son hunting in the woods. A deer stands motionless in the snow, oblivious to the shotgun barrel aimed at it. A prayer is whispered.
Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever.
A gunshot rings out. The deer collapses. The weight of this moment is immediate and unavoidable. Keller Dover, the father, delivers an ominous lecture to his teenage son on the drive home.
You know the most important thing your granddad ever taught me? Be ready.
This relentless need for control will define his actions for the rest of the film. And then, in an instant, his world shatters. His daughter is gone. The Thanksgiving dinner sequence that follows introduces us to the Dover and Birch families, the normalcy of their gathering subtly laced with tension. The two young daughters, Anna and Joy, leave the house to play, their absence initially unnoticed amid the adult conversations. But when their disappearance is realized and a suspicious RV is recalled, the panic sets in. This is where Jackman's performance first begins to break away from mere acting. As Keller listens to his son mention the RV, his reaction isn't scripted melodrama, it's something deeper. He doesn't speak. He doesn't deliver a dramatic line. He simply breathes heavily, his chest rising and falling with an intensity that speaks volumes. In that breath, we see everything: his fear, his disbelief, his dawning horror. And this is just the beginning. The RV's owner, Alex Jones, played by Paul Dano, is dragged in for questioning. Forensics say the RV is clean of physical evidence, but Alex is strange. He speaks in a whispery high voice that makes him sound like a preteen.
I went for a drive.
It is not inconceivable to think that he may be hiding something. This is clearly Dover's take, and he and Loki immediately start to butt heads about the course of the investigation. When Jones is released due to lack of evidence into the custody of his aunt, played by Melissa Leo, Dover takes matters into his own hands, kidnapping Jones and holding him hostage in an abandoned, dilapidated building. Dover loops in Franklin Birch on his plan to beat the truth out of Jones. But he ignores his own moral compass in the face of Dover's furious certainty. This is one of the subtler points of the script: how certainty can override doubt with sheer force, and how doubt is often essential to maintaining our humanity. Hugh Jackman huffs and puffs and screams and roars throughout the film, and it becomes monotonous, but what all that behavior tells us is that this is a weak man who needs to feel powerful. In one telling moment, while murmuring the "Our Father," he is unable to say, "As we forgive those who trespass against us." He has a veritable arsenal in his basement. His family could withstand a mustard gas attack as well as the zombie apocalypse, but he couldn't protect his daughter on a simple walk through a safe neighborhood. And he's so convinced that Alex Jones is the guy that he is blind to other possibilities. Meanwhile, his wife lies in bed, tranquilizing herself into a stupor. Gyllenhaal is great here, in a role that must have looked rather uninteresting on the page. Aaron Guzikowski's script, so packed with religious symbols that verges on a sermon, is excellent in its spare and compelling portrait of Loki. The only image of the character outside the context of his job is his introductory scene, eating Thanksgiving dinner in an empty, fluorescent-lit Chinese restaurant, as the rain batters down outside. The only thing we learn about his past is that he was in a boys' home and was raised in foster care. His knuckles and neck are sprinkled with tattoos, including a cross on one thumb. He's got a facial tic. We meet a lot of creeps and prisoners, and you get the sense that Detective Loki could have been one of them if he hadn't become a cop. It's a nice performance from Gyllenhaal, and its subtlety is welcome. Director Villeneuve gives us a couple of truly suspenseful scenes. One is a chase through the nighttime backyards of the neighborhood after a candlelight vigil for the two girls. The interiors of the houses seem gloomy and cramped, with walls cutting into the frame and characters coming in and out of sight. A visual correlative for the idea of people cut off from one another. But as the plot goes into high gear and we get other suspects, basement layers, and a glimpse of vast conspiracies, Prisoners wears out its welcome. Hugh Jackman's performance from the very first scene to the last is captivating. He has raw emotions that make me forget I'm watching someone act. In the moments when his character is at his wit's end, I feel it. Literally makes the hair on my arm raise. His range in this movie alone is something I haven't seen in some actors' entire career. Another significant moment that cements Hugh Jackman's performance as something beyond just acting is the confrontation between Keller Dover and Detective Loki. This is a scene that could have played out as a typical cop versus desperate father, but Jackman adds an extra layer of realism that makes it one of the most intense sequences in the film.
And every day, she's wondering why I'm not there to rescue her. Do you understand that? Me, not you, but me! Every day! So forgive me for not going home to have a good night's rest!
Keller isn't just angry, he's unraveling. You can see the exhaustion in his face, the hopelessness in his eyes, and the barely contained rage that's ready to explode. He doesn't yell in a controlled, cinematic way. His voice cracks, his breathing is uneven, and his words feel forced through clenched teeth. It's ugly, it's raw, and it's real. Jackman has always been known for his ability to convey intensity, but here, it's almost unbearable to watch. There's no moment where you feel like he's performing for the camera. Instead, it feels like we're intruding on a man's private breakdown. This is especially clear in the scene where Keller, at his lowest point, lashes out at Loki in a police station. He's pleading, threatening, and bargaining all at the same time, his mind racing for any way to take control of an uncontrollable situation. Jake Gyllenhaal, playing Loki, responds with a restrained performance, his calm demeanor acting as a stark contrast to Keller's growing instability. This contrast makes Jackman's performance feel even more unfiltered. Loki is the only character still tethered to logic, while Keller is drowning in his own despair. Then, of course, there's the infamous torture scene. This is where Jackman completely disappears into Keller Dover. The way he looks at Alex Jones, his trembling hands gripping the hammer, the unpredictable shifts in his tone.
You're doing this to yourself. Just tell us.
It's terrifying. What makes it even more unnerving is how natural it all seems. There's no Hollywood flair, no exaggerated theatrics. Jackman isn't trying to make the scene look good, he's making it feel real, and that's what makes it so disturbing. He's not playing a hero. He's not even playing an anti-hero. He's playing a desperate man whose sense of morality has been stripped away piece by piece. In this moment, you can see why actors talk about needing to shake off certain roles after filming. Jackman isn't just delivering lines, he's living Keller's trauma. You can hear it in his voice when he breaks down screaming at Alex.
Why are you making me do this?
You can see it in his eyes when he realizes he's capable of monstrous things. He has crossed a line, and the scariest part is, he doesn't know if he wants to turn back. The audience doesn't either. It's one of those rare performances where we aren't just watching a character make decisions, we feel like we're making them with him. What elevates this performance even further is the way Villeneuve and Roger Deakins frame Keller throughout the film. The camera often lingers on his face, allowing us to witness every micro-expression. Sometimes Keller is positioned just slightly off-center, as if he's losing his place in the world. Other times he's in tight close-ups, making the audience feel trapped with him. These choices don't just highlight Jackman's acting, they amplify it. They make us feel the weight of his performance in a way that most films don't allow. As the film progresses, we see Keller become more and more detached from his humanity. What started as righteous fury has turned into blind obsession. He's not thinking clearly anymore, and the deeper he goes, the less we recognize him, as the man we met in the first scene. And yet, we can't entirely judge him. We understand his pain. We understand his desperation. That's the genius of Jackman's performance. He makes us question our own moral boundaries. Would we do the same in his position? Would we let our emotions push us past the point of no return? Prisoners isn't just a film about a father searching for his daughter. It's about what happens when a person loses themselves in the process. And Hugh Jackman doesn't just play that journey. He makes us feel every agonizing step of it. One of the most powerful aspects of Prisoners is how it captures Keller Dover's transformation. Hugh Jackman takes us on a journey from being a protective father to someone completely consumed by his own fury and despair. It's not just about Jackman acting angry, it's about how he embodies the sheer desperation of a man who has lost control over his own morality. Jackman is known for playing characters that exude power, whether it's Wolverine in X-Men or Jean Valjean in Les Miserables. But in Prisoners, his portrayal is raw in a way that feels deeply human. His performance isn't just about yelling or crying, it's in the smaller details. The way his eyes dart around when he's trying to make sense of things. The way his breath becomes heavier in moments of intense stress. And how his voice falters when he starts questioning whether he's made the wrong choices.
I know you know. Why aren't you telling me? Why?
The bathroom scene with Paul Dano's character, Alex, remains one of the most terrifying in the film. Keller is already past the point of return, holding Alex captive, believing without a doubt that he's the kidnapper. When Keller slams a hammer into the wall, it's an unscripted moment. Jackman was so lost in the intensity of the scene that Dano's fear was absolutely real. It's moments like these that show when an actor is not acting anymore, but instead becoming the character. Villeneuve's direction ensures that we never fully detach from Keller's journey, no matter how brutal it becomes. The film doesn't tell us whether to sympathize with him or condemn him. It lets the performance speak for itself. And Jackman does something remarkable here. He doesn't make Keller a hero or a villain, but rather a deeply flawed man, one whose desperation has pushed him past the edge of reason. Then comes the ending. When Keller finds himself trapped underground, weak and unable to call for help, it's a perfect mirror to his own descent into obsession. The once powerful and forceful man is reduced to complete helplessness, with only a whistle to signal his presence. It's a poetic justice, not in a way that feels like punishment, but in a way that forces the audience to reflect on everything that led up to this moment. Hugh Jackman's performance in Prisoners is career-defining. It's a reminder that great acting isn't always about transformation into someone larger than life. It's about making you forget you're watching an actor at all. And in Prisoners, Jackman doesn't just play Keller Dover. He is Keller Dover, in every heartbreaking, terrifying, and unforgettable way.